What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Benchwarmer Sports. A little bit of a different setup here today. I'm trying to do some new things with how I record my videos, so expect a little bit of tweaks here or there over the next couple of videos. But today we have got an insane story to talk about because Ian Rapoport, the leading NFL insider, just broke some major news regarding Nate Scheelhaase and his availability to become the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And this report could definitely swing things in his favor. We're going to be talking about that. But first, if you guys like the Cleveland Browns or just sports content in general, this is the right place for you. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. We're, I think, 22 subscribers away from 1,300. So if you guys have not hit subscribe yet, do that. We're trying to get to 2,000 subscribers here. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. So, some major news broke today from Ian Rapoport. As I said, he is one of the leading NFL insiders, if not the leading NFL insider. And we already know that Grant Udinski, one of my top guys and top candidates for the Browns head coaching job, he did his interview, his second interview, and his first in-person interview with the Cleveland Browns yesterday. He is now going to be interviewing with the Buffalo Bills for their head coaching job. And Nate Scheelhaase, the earliest that he can interview with the Cleveland Browns in person is on Monday after the NFC Championship game. And there is a report from Ian Rapoport that says that Nate Scheelhaase is willing to keep Jim Schwartz on as his defensive coordinator if he is given the head coaching job with the Cleveland Browns. Now, that is coming from Ian Rapoport, and to me, this is the first sign that we have seen from one of these candidates that we have gotten so far. You know, Todd Monken, Jim Schwartz. Well, obviously Jim Schwartz would keep himself, but Todd Monken, Dan Pitcher, Mike McDaniel, you know, all of these different candidates that we have heard about that the Browns have been interviewing. This is the first real credible crumb of evidence that we have gotten about one of these candidates and what these candidates are looking for when it comes to becoming the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. And to me, I definitely think that this could be a very realistic possibility that Nate Scheelhaase could be positioning himself to become the favorite candidate to become the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Now, if you guys have been paying attention to my channel for a little bit, you guys obviously know that I am in love with these top two candidates of Nate Scheelhaase and Grant Udinski. I think that they are going to be absolutely awesome coaches, respectfully. And again, what do you call it? We talked about the Jordan Schultz report a couple of days ago or last week, detailing that the Browns are looking for offensive-minded head coaches, especially young offensive-minded head coaches who may be a year away from becoming head coaches. And their thought process and mindset is that they would rather be a year too early than a year too late. And this report, again, like I said, with Grant Udinski taking his second interview yesterday, there really hasn't been any key notifications or key details coming out about what, you know, a Udinski coached Browns team would look like. But for some reason, this little nugget about what Nate Scheelhaase would bring to the Cleveland Browns, at least in terms of him and his willingness to keep Jim Schwartz on his coaching staff for the defensive coordinator job, to me, this is almost setting itself up to maybe putting Nate Scheelhaase as the top candidate for the Cleveland Browns. And I don't necessarily hate this idea of Nate Scheelhaase and Jim Schwartz collaborating with one another. Now, again, a lot of the knock on Scheelhaase and Udinski is that they don't have that much of experience with coaching in the NFL. Nate Scheelhaase is only 35 years old. He's only been with the Los Angeles Rams for about 2 years, but he does come from the long-coveted and long-heralded Sean McVay tree. I mean, a lot of different coaches have come from this tree. Zach Taylor, Matt LaFleur, and a bunch of other guys have come from this tree. Brandon Staley. A lot of these guys, these young and up-and-coming coordinators or staff members or coaches on the Sean McVay staff do end up having a lot of success when it comes to becoming coaches in the NFL. And to me, Nate Scheelhaase does have more experience, and I think he would have more, a better time at least coming up with being a play caller than Grant Udinski. Now, Grant Udinski has an edge over Scheelhaase when it comes to being an offensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but when it comes to Nate Scheelhaase, he has a lot of different experience with being in the locker room and coaching wide receivers, running backs, and being a quarterback himself in college. He was the quarterback at Illinois in the 2000s. And while he was at Iowa State with the coach, Dan Campbell, he had the opportunity to be the wide receivers and running backs coach. So for Nate Scheelhaase, he had a really distinct opportunity to be involved in the three major facets of the offensive game plan in the quarterback room, wide receiver room, and running back room. To me, I think he may have a little bit more of an edge just because he has more experience with being in those rooms for a longer period of time. Now, I know a lot of it was at Iowa State and college, but to me, experience is experience. You can take it for what you will. I think experience is experience. Granted, it's definitely different areas because it's college or the NFL and professional football, but to me, that's where I think Scheelhaase has an edge over Udinski. And again, I just think that with this coming out, definitely is a sign that Scheelhaase is one of the top two candidates. I definitely have said this for weeks. I think Scheelhaase and Udinski are the top two finalists, the top two candidates that they're looking at. And with this one nugget of information coming out from Ian Rapoport saying that Scheelhaase is willing to keep Jim Schwartz on as his defensive coordinator, while we haven't heard anything about what Udinski would bring to the Browns, to me that is a very significant sign that Scheelhaase could be the top dog and the top candidate for the Cleveland Browns head coaching job. But let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you think Nate Scheelhaase would make a good head coach? Is there someone else that you guys are willing, or at least want the Browns to take a look at? There's a couple of guys that I made mention of in my previous video about the Rooney Rule and the Browns, about who the Browns could go after in order to fulfill that Rooney Rule requirement, and maybe even become dark horse candidates for the Browns head coaching job. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. But please hit the like button, subscribe if you're new. If you guys like the Cleveland Browns or sports content in general, this is the right place for you. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys all in another video. Take care, everybody.